Welcome to your PWC Connections, a monthly look at what's happening inside PWC and out in our community. I'm your host, Lamont Henson. Thanks for plugging in. Winter is coming, which means some colder weather and perhaps more energy consumption. We'll chat with one of our customer service representatives about some of the reasons some bills could be higher during this time of year. We're shining a spotlight on one of our local emergency management coordinators who took time to share some holiday safety tips in this edition of Spotlight on Safety. We're approaching the 25th anniversary of Grinding of the Greens. What better time to reminisce and reflect on this community event? So stay tuned for Community Connections. Still have some unanswered questions about heat pumps? Would it be really helpful to get some advice on conservation for wintertime? We'll learn all about it and how does it work. Be mindful of preparing your backflow for the winter. Luckily, you have help in your corner with our upcoming Conservation Corner segment. Our seasonal light incentive program is back. We'll be providing you with the details and updates on that program. We're keeping our customers and the community connected with another informative edition of PWC Connections. Stay tuned.
The temperature is changing. People will be changing their habits with their utility usage, and they may see some fluctuation in their bill charges. There are a few factors that can contribute to your bill. The first is weather, and due to the weather temperatures dropping, you'll have a tendency to turn your heat up, which can increase your electricity usage. On an average, a large portion of your bill is based upon your heating and cooling cost. In the summertime, if you turn it down for cooler, it's making the system work harder to cool your homes. If you turn it up in the wintertime to heat your home, it's making the system work harder to heat your home. So the more people on the system, the harder the system has to work to heat and cool your homes. Before you increase the temperature on your thermostat, you may want to put on a little more clothing, grab an extra blanket, put some wood in the fireplace. That would all contribute to making your bill usage during the winter months not be as high as normal. And just keep in mind, if you are increasing your thermostat, please be sure to only increase it 1 or 2 degrees at a time. Prevent your auxiliary heat from coming on. Make sure that your filters are changed. If your filters aren't changed every 30 days, it's making the system work harder because your filters are dirty. And I recommend the ones that you change for 30 days. The ones that are more expensive, I've heard from the conservationists, they don't work as well as the ones that did cheaper ones. But you think the more expensive ones would be better, but they're just not. You can always mark it on your calendar, and with the new smart thermostats, they have an alert on it. You can set it to remind you every 30 days to change your filter. Billing cycles can consist of 28 to 32 days. The longer the billing cycle is, so if you have a billing cycle of 32 days, you have to keep in mind of the 4 extra days in your billing cycle, which can cause your bill to be higher the following month. So on your billing, when you see a previous balance and a current balance, and the bill seems slightly higher, that means that you have a past due balance and a current balance calculated together, which is making your bill look higher than normal. Especially during the holiday season when you have more people visiting, people have a tendency to extended stay. That means you have more people using your electricity, people taking showers, which can cause your bill to go up during the holiday months. These are a few things that can make your bills go up during the winter months. If you have any questions about your bill, please do give us a call. For more conservation tips, you can go to faypwc.com.
When we get out those old decorations, especially the corded ones that we're going to plug in, just a quick inspection is important. Make sure they're not cracked or frayed. If it's dry rotted, that's something we want to throw away. But one thing that we're very excited to see is the LED products now stay cooler, they use less juice, Not that you can't still get electrocuted, but overall it's a safer product. On the wiring front, something that's very exciting are the projectors you see around town. So we're no longer stringing wires and falling off housetops with icicles and stuff, where the projector will actually put the various scenes on your home. What we would do is advise people to start with a very large gauge cord, if you must use an extension cord, and make sure that it's an outdoor cord, especially if you have a feature that's going to be displayed outdoors. Otherwise, use some basic common sense too. If you're using these multiplexes in these outlets, that's just absolutely encouraging a problem. Let's just use one string of lights for one outlet position. And if you feel a line and it's warm to touch, then we do have a problem. You need to unplug it. There's a revolution in space heaters. They have some beautiful electrical ones now that are infrared and actually maybe mimic a fireplace that are just rolling off the shelves. People like them. Most of them are forced hot air out the bottom, and they're a great product. However, like with any electrical appliance, again, one heater to the one outlet as appropriate with the voltage and wattage, but also you have to be careful in the high traffic areas. You don't want it in a place where it can be bumped or knocked over. Live Christmas trees require a lot of special attention, certainly to be watered appropriately. From the point of sale, if they're trimmed appropriately and put in a bucket of water to kind of absorb what they lost in transit, wherever it is they came from or wherever they initially were cut. Also, once you get them inside the house, it's critical that they stay watered. If you reach on the end of the needles and they're really brittle, that's a bad sign. The greens that are hung sometimes that people purchase at live Christmas tree lots, those will dry out too. And you don't have a bucket of water to stick them in. So that's something we have to keep in mind. Even though they may have lights or something enmeshed in them, they're going to get hot eventually and they're going to drop needles. So we have to really keep an eye on those. Well, this time of the year, especially the holidays, brings us in the kitchen and keeps us there for a while. The main thing about the kitchen is don't leave anything unattended. That gets us in a lot of trouble, and that's where small fires suddenly turn into large fires. And some people also try to deep fat fry certain items. Turkeys are a big popular item to do, but you do not drop a cold frozen turkey into a hot vat of oil, and we see it happen over and over again. Read the directions, thaw the bird, and follow exactly the manufacturer's directions on the fryer. We encourage you to have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen because that's where a lot of things happen, but it's not limited to the kitchen. You could have them anywhere in your home, and we ask you at this time of the year to revisit them. Make sure that they're charged accordingly. And if you're in doubt of fighting a fire, forget about the fire extinguisher and get everybody out and call 911. Those are just a few tips to keep you and your family safe around the holidays.
I was at Carolina Power and Light for 17 years, and my last role there, I was area manager for Fayetteville. We had an environmental goal to meet. So the others in the Carolinas were doing grinding of the greens. So Ernest and I talked about getting that done for Fayetteville. We felt, like we should do something. The trees were filling up the landfill, and it was a proven service project around, probably more than the Carolinas, and we felt like it was something that we wanted to do in Fayetteville. I had some friends at PWC, so I called over to PWC and I talked with Jim Martin. Jim Martin at the time was over the electric division. And so with Jim, and then we had to call the city of Fayetteville to coordinate picking up the trees. And so once we did that, we also talked to the botanical gardens because they were very receptive of the idea because they needed the mulch. So our first grinding of the greens was on the campus of the botanical gardens, and that was before it looks like it does today. It was in its infancy back then 25 years ago.
Back in 1993, I was with Hodges Associates, and I still am, and we were brought into this the very first year. Back then you didn't have all the options for promoting like you do now. There was no social media, there was no website, no newsletter. We did it all with interviews, live interviews on the radio. We had a small newspaper budget and a small radio budget, and that was the extent of it. and we depended very heavily on radio interviews, and I think PWC still does do that, but back then it was crucial, and you had to keep all the news people happy with you. The first time was very exciting. The employees were excited, and I think even back then they started with "Gentlemen, start your engines." One of the early ones that was snowing, and we had a young intern from WTVD actually came out there to cover it, and she did not realize she lost her microphone. It was in the pile of trees, and the guys found it before they ground it up. She was quite relieved.
I've been volunteering for 24 years. This is PWC's 25th event, but it is my 24th. My first grinding of the greens was probably the most memorable, and I can't believe I came back. I got there and the piles were like 10 to 12 feet tall, and it had just snowed or we had an ice storm before. And me and another co-worker climbed to the top of the mound, and it was our job to throw the trees down to the bottom. It was so cold, but we made it. It was probably one of the longest grinding of the greens that we had. But again, I can't believe I came back, but I really enjoy it.
Well, we learned an awful lot from the first time. Back then, the trees were pushed into a pile with bulldozers, and so they were hard to pick up. Also, we tried to fill the trucks with mulch. You know, we chipped it and the mulch went into the back of trucks, and then we drove the trucks down into a lower area of the botanical gardens where they wanted to place the mulch. It was not a good idea because it was wet, so the trucks got stuck. So we learned a lot after the first time, and now it's really a well-oiled machine now. You can do the grinding of the greens in less than 2 hours.
Some funny things that have shown up over the years where people tried to recycle a metal wreath, you know, a wreath with a metal wire frame on it, and even trees coming in with tree stands attached. And I think one year there was even an artificial tree. They've found ornaments over the years, and one particular year, maybe 3 years ago, the one they found seemed to be a very important ornament, and PWC went that extra mile and found out who it belonged to and got it back to them. I think over the years, you have many of the same volunteers come back, and they seem real excited about it. And I know it's not just the coffee and donuts.
I love volunteering for the grinding of the greens because it's my way of giving back. I help out the environment, and it helps out the community. I love working with people in other departments. I love to see actually if they're up for the challenge, because it can be a little physical, some of the work that's required. It just depends on how much you want to put into it. We have a little challenge, an unspoken challenge among us, the chippers, to see what pile finishes first. And so we're all trying to beat the person next to you. And it can really be challenging, but it depends on how much you want to put into it. I'm really looking forward to the 25th anniversary. And I hope to be back even after I retire from PWC.
I'm very proud to have been involved in this event from the very beginning. I think it's been a good thing for Fayetteville. It's been a good thing for the city, good thing for PWC and CPNL and the garden and the botanical garden.
It's a win for our community. I think the citizens are participating. You know, they expect it, and then it helps the botanical gardens as well.
As the weather gets cool, we start to get loads and loads of calls from people wanting to know exactly what to do with their systems to make sure they're ready for the winter. We get the same calls repeatedly over and over and over. Typically, when people call for the winter, they're wondering what to do with their heat. First question is, what type of heat do you have? Do you have a heat pump? Heat pumps is what we usually have in this area, okay? A heat pump just means that we heat and we cool with Freon. Okay, so people make the mistake and think that I have a problem with the air conditioner. It's okay, heating season is here. No, if the air conditioner is broken, the heat's not going to heat properly either. Okay, so we need Freon to heat and cool with the heat pump. That heat pump can be split or it can be packaged, and you need to know the difference. so that you understand what to do. If it's split, that means it's split into two pieces. One piece is in the yard. We all look at that and say, that's my air conditioner. And then the other piece is either in the attic or under the house or in a closet somewhere. That means it's split in two pieces. Otherwise, it's a big, huge box that sits in the yard and everything's packaged in one box. Okay? The heat and the air is all in one box. Heat pump takes the outside air and heats and cools it and recirculates it inside the house. That's the way a heat pump works. Okay? So it needs to pull that air in. Everything needs to breathe. Coils need to be clean, need to be serviced to make sure air flows properly. The system heats that air or cools it, throws it inside the house. Okay? The return, the place where we put the filter. People don't understand that all the air in the house is returned to the system through that one spot. Once the air is returned back to the system, it's heated and cooled again and sent back into the house. If it doesn't breathe, if the filters aren't clean, the air doesn't flow properly. When the air doesn't flow, the motor doesn't turn. Motors burn out. Okay? So we need to make sure that the air flows. And when we do that, we need to change filters every 30 days. The cheap filters, the little 50-cent filters, are perfect. If you are planning to be gone for the holidays and you're trying to determine how you should set that thermostat, it really does depend on how long you're going to be gone. If you're only going to be gone for a day or a couple of days, you don't need to turn it down but a few degrees, okay? Because again, everything in the house has to get warm, okay? It takes twice as long to warm it all up. If you're going to be gone for a week or going to be gone for 2 weeks, you can turn it down considerably lower, but you still don't want to turn it down too low because we don't want the pipes in the house to freeze. We get a lot of questions about whether it's efficient to use a programmable thermostat. And it is if you let the thermostat do its job. What we find is that most people don't let the thermostat do its job. They'll buy a programmable thermostat, but they still want to control it. Programmable is designed to be efficient so that it will come on and go off at certain times of day. But again, people play with the thermostat. If you set it properly, it'll treat you good. Now that the weather's turning cool, there are some things that we need to understand that we should do and some things that we should not do. Never, ever, ever, ever. So let's cover what we shouldn't do first, okay? Don't play with the thermostat. Taboo. Do not play with the thermostat, okay? Don't close off the vents, all right? Don't block the return. These are taboo. Do not turn the system off when you leave during the day. And do not compare your utility bill for December of this year to December of last year. All depends on the weather, what's happening, okay? Now that we know what not to do, because those are the things that are going to get us in trouble, let's figure out what we should be doing. First thing, key, filters. Always, always, always keep the filters clean. Let's just change it at the beginning of the month. Some say we'll change it when we pay the utility bill. How about we say it's a new month, let's get us a new filter. System needs to be serviced. That is key. It really does need to be serviced every year. Once it gets 2 years old, it needs to be serviced every summer to make sure that the coils and the freon levels are good, to make sure it's ready for the hot weather. And it needs to be serviced every winter to make sure that that freon level is still good and that the heat strips are ready to handle it in an emergency situation. Next on the list, we want to make sure that if you have a crawl space, make sure that the crawl space is secured properly to keep mice, raccoons, family pets, anything that could get up under the house to use their claws to cut a hole in the duct. One thing that we really need to remember about a heat pump when we have extreme cold weather is that it's not an oven. When we want the oven to give us more heat, we turn it to 325. If we need to cook faster and we want more heat, we turn it to 400. That's not good enough, we turn it to 425 and we get more heat. Heat pump doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter how high you push the thermostat, you're only going to get so much heat out of the vents. When the time comes where you have questions in reference to your heating and air conditioning system, especially during the heating season, just give PWC a call. Their customer service has all of the answers that you need. And that's how it works.
Hi, I'm Lamont Henson. Seasons changing, the weather's changing, which could also mean my utility bill will be dramatically changing if I don't change some of my conservation habits. In this edition of The Facts, we'll sit down and talk with one of our conservation specialists about HVAC best practices and some winter conservation tips. So stay tuned.
Programmable thermostat is a great help because you can actually adjust your temperatures when you're not home. If you're on vacation, you can set up dates that you need it to come on at what time, and also at night you can adjust it to go lower your temperature when you're asleep. A home energy audit focuses on air leaks in your home. If you need more insulation, if it's cool in your house, you have leaks, you might need to insulate and use weather stripping on the doors and windows. On a crawl space, if they do have vents in the winter, make sure they're closed and make sure they are screened in the summer. Also, it keeps animals and rodents from under your house. On your HVAC system, make sure you have no leaves around your HVAC. Make sure you keep it clean because of the air intake. It'll dampen your air intake from your HVAC system. If your air conditioner should freeze during the winter, it has a defrost mode that will defrost the unit. Do not try to clean the unit on the sides because you might damage it. If you're going to clean the top itself, be really careful cleaning the top. On your HVAC system in the winter, avoid turning your unit up more than 2 degrees because if you do, it might cause the heat strips and the auxiliary heat to come on, and that'll make your bill go up substantially. To keep your HVAC system performing at its best, make sure that you have it serviced regularly and cleaned regularly, and make sure you have it checked before the winter season. For more energy saving advice or tips, visit our website.
Hi, I'm Chad Groves again with PWC. Here today to talk about backflows and how to winterize them for the winter months. Backflows used to prevent water from go back in our water systems. Got some quick little items here that you can probably find laying around your home. First item is just a little noodle, probably out by the pool. Kids usually use these to float around the pool. Summer months, you usually can pick these up, Dollar General, Family Dollar, stores like that. Another item is just simply just some old insulation you may have laying around. I've already swept my noodle. Just slide it basically over your exposed pipe. Sometimes it could be PVC, sometimes it could be cast iron. Just take your tape, go around it, just make sure it's secure and tight. It's very important to prep your backflow for winter months, just because these pipes will be exposed to weather. They easily will burst, especially on the nights when it gets down into the teens. Last year we had around about 200 pipes bust in 1 week due to people not winterizing their backflows. And if your backflow is damaged, it's kind of expensive to get them repaired. Having a leaky backflow can cause to extreme water usage, such as a busted pipe in your yard or in your irrigation system. Could really cost you a lot of money. You could use some spray insulation. You can usually get those at the hardware store. Here's a good example of what it looks like once it's been sprayed on. You can spray it inside your cover or around your piping. It's very inexpensive. I'd recommend to have both though for your winter months. I'm actually gonna just use a little bit of this insulation to go around this top piece. Last winter we had a lot of backflows burst during the cold months. It can cause a very, very bad problem, especially if you're not home, you're out of town. I mean, it could run up hundreds of thousands of gallons of water and you not even be aware of it. I mean, and then, with our case, we're not gonna know until someone calls it in. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be a thing of beauty, but in the long run, it'll save you some money because it's a very expensive item to repair. And I wouldn't never remove this. I'd just keep it on all year round. It's not gonna hurt it to be on during the summer months. It's just basically like a Band-Aid being safe. And if you do leave it insulated on all year round, I would check it around October, November just to make sure it hasn't decayed or fell off. It's just basically a safety net, so you won't have any damages for your winter months. And if you have any questions, you can give us a call at 910-483-1382.
PWC's new seasonal light incentive program kicks off October 1st. This exciting program offers PWC customers a bill credit of up to $40 if they swap out their old incandescent holiday lights with new LED lights. LED lights use up to 90% less energy and can last up to 40 seasons. They are more economical. Plus, they shine more brightly, so you'll have the best-looking holiday decorations on the block. Renters and homeowners are eligible for this program, and the lights may be purchased from anywhere, your favorite store or online. All applications must be received prior to January 15th. Customers may dispose of their old light strands at the PWC Customer Service Center located at 955 Old Wilmington Road from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. To learn more about this limited-time offer, including complete program details and applications, visit the PWC website today or call customer programs at 223-4600.
Season's greetings all, and welcome to another edition of Take One. This is our chance to highlight news, upcoming events, and important FYIs from the Fayetteville Public Works Commission. The PWC Communications Community Relations Department, also known as CCR, picked up awards for excellence from the American Public Power Association during the recent Customer Connections Conference held in Orlando. CCR was recognized with an award of excellence for print and digital communications and an award of merit in the video category. Great job, PWC CCR. Get ready to mark your calendars because our 2019 Connected to Conservation calendars are on the way. We'll have year-long tips for energy and water conservation, dates for upcoming events with your hometown utility in attendance, and time of use reminders. Calendars will be available at our Customer Service Center, downtown at 433 Hay Street, or by request, give us a call at 910-223-4009. In observance of the Christmas holiday and New Year's Day, PWC offices will be closed on Monday, December 24th, and Tuesday, December 25th, with normal business hours resuming on Wednesday, December 26th. Our offices will also be closed on Tuesday, January 1st, New Year's Day, with normal business hours resuming on Wednesday, January 2nd. To report outages, please call our 24-hour emergency hotline, 1-877-HOUR-PWC1. As we look into the new year, be on the lookout for the 25th annual Grinding of the Greens on January 12th, followed by the Fayetteville Spring Home Design and Remodeling Show held at the Crown Complex, February 22nd through the 24th. Then in March, we'll be hosting the 5th annual Power, Water, and Conservation Expo at Skyview on Hay, March 22nd and 23rd. Stay tuned for more details. Don't forget, time of use rates begin in May 2019, so visit our website for tips and advice to start shifting your energy consumption now towards off-peak times. Thanks for taking the time to watch Take One, and remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.